All right, let's get into the world's biggest science stories this morning with CTV science and technology expert Dan Riskin. Good morning, Dan. Hope you had a great weekend.
Good morning. Yeah.
Good.
How are you?
I'm doing well, thanks. So, like, very topical story here that we're beginning with. You know, the painfully well, we know this far too well. The Delta variant, more transmissible than any other sort of COVID strains. But you're going to help us understand why that is today.
Well, it's been a mystery, right? Because with the other variants, there have been these very obvious mutations on the spike protein. Everybody talks about the spike protein because that's the part that attaches to our cells and allows the virus to get in there, to get a hold. But it's been a mystery with the Delta virus because there's nothing on its spike proteins that sort of shows a real difference between it and other strains. So researchers changed their technique altogether. What they've been doing before was a technique that was sort of limited to looking at the spike protein, because you take the spike proteins, you put it on safe viruses, you can explore it that way. This is a new technology called virus-like particles, and this technology was developed in part by the woman who won the 2020 Nobel Prize in chemistry. So we're not playing around here. And with this new technique, they figured out that it's not the spike protein on the Delta variant, it's something about other parts of it that allows it to spill a whole lot more of its RNA into your cells. And so it's not that it attaches better or that it spreads better in the air, it's that once it gets a hold of you, it dumps a ton of its genetic material into your cells so that you become an absolute factory for spilling that to other people. And that's its secret to success.
Yeah, of course, there are so many scientists looking into so many aspects of COVID. That is certainly fascinating, Dan. Everyone, you know, kind of maybe 30, 40 years ago thought by this time in our lives, we'd have electric flying vehicles. But you're here to tell us it's almost going to be real.
Oh, it's just around the corner. I mean, the air traffic control issues are a whole other thing. But I mean, like, you know, CP-24 has a fancy-dancy helicopter, but I want one too, right?
Sure.
I think everybody wants to fly around, but we don't want to have a helicopter that's bad for the environment. We want an eco-friendly helicopter to get to our wherever we're for lunch dates or whatever. So these are technologies for electric flying vehicles that would go, you know, 500 kilometers at most. It's kind of like a helicopter on the way up, and then the propellers turn and it becomes more like an airplane. And the big take-home that's new now, according to scientists, is that if you do the calculations of how much power these things need, and you do the calculations of how good electric batteries have gotten for electric cars, we are almost there. They're overlapping a little bit in terms of there are some kind of designs that would work with some kinds of batteries, but as the batteries improve, we're going to be in a real place where we're able to actually build flying cars that run on electricity and power them.
All right, I'm going to feel like George Jetson at some point in my life then. I'll look forward to that. You know, it's talking about flying around. A lot of questions after COP26 about, you know, the carbon footprints of people, you know, flying in, flying out, private jets, all that. Is there a possibility we could get to a carbon neutral jet fuel?
Right. Yeah, this is a holy grail, because I think there are just a lot of things that you need an airplane for. COP26 being a great example. You had all these environmentally minded scientists and politicians and activists who got on planes to go to Glasgow so they could talk about how to save the environment. And the irony was not lost on any one of them. And it was pointed out by lots of naysayers as well. But jet fuel, it's tricky because you can't use a battery to make an airplane go really fast through the sky. We just don't have the technology for that. So the question is, can you make a jet fuel that doesn't require fossil fuels? And researchers have come up with at least a prototype that they say works, where they use just sunlight and carbon dioxide that they pulled out of the atmosphere to make a kerosene. And so this is the beginning now of making a fuel out of thin air that is carbon neutral, so that the amount of carbon that gets sucked out of the atmosphere is equal to the amount of carbon that goes back into the atmosphere when it's used, and then you could fly to your heart's content and never feel an ounce of guilt about it. So we're still not there for the airplanes, but the beginnings of those steps have been taken, and it's very exciting.
But we're close on the chopper, so that's a good thing, or the sort of flying car as well. So, right. Hey, Dan, that's great. Appreciate this, and we'll look forward to our conversation next week. Have a good one.
Right on. Thanks a lot.